The following is a snippet from a webinar that I did about nurse practitioner burnout. So check it out. There'll be more snippets to come. And don't forget to check out some of the resources that I mentioned. So the link to the Competition Bureau's statement about nurse practitioner practice, which is very interesting. Also a link to the Ubiquitous Evolution session with Claudia Mariano, which is extremely interesting as well. She has a huge amount of background in political action. And on that note, she and I have written a little course. Less than $40, give you the ins and outs of advocating for nurse practitioners politically. So it's also included in the link. So here we go, jumping right into my talk. And this is the question I asked: is nurse practitioner burnout different? We have all the same things that the physicians and registered nurses and other healthcare providers have. But we are constantly dealing with the fact that we are not as much of a known entity. So I'm sure, and still to this day, no matter how much work has been done, there are still people who ask you, well, what do you do? Well, blah, 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 or have an idea of what you do that's different than what they expect. Or, I don't know, just a job posting alarmingly $25,000 less than what the ministry is giving the organization for a position. So, I mean, we shouldn't have to constantly defend ourselves, constantly explain, constantly say, don't use nurse practitioner positions to refinance your organizations. Show some respect. The Competition Bureau of Canada put out a statement several years ago stating that that was actually not okay, that we do the same work as physicians in primary care, for example. I mean, most of us aren't doing surgery, but in primary healthcare, this was the example. We should be able to tap into the same remuneration resources as physicians for that kind of care. So all of these things stack on top of each other and create another layer of stress and difficulties for nurse practitioners on top of the regular problems during our work. And I think that is, I called it an existential crisis almost. I think that is part of the problem with being a nurse practitioner and why our burnout might be different. I'll just give one more example. In one of the podcasts, in one of the Ubiquitous Evolution interviews that I had with Claudia Mariano, she was talking about policy and political action. And one of the things she said was, when you graduate as a registered nurse and you get a job on a floor in a unit or go to public health, you know what you're going to be doing. You're going to be working in your full scope of registered nurse practice within the parameters of that workplace. But when you get a job as a nurse practitioner, you go to a family health team or you go to the hospital and they say, oh, okay, no, we don't want you to do your full scope. We're going to give you this very small piece of it because we actually want you to do the work to give the physicians more remunerations, or we want you to fill in this gap. You're not going to work to your full scope of practice and you're not going to do what you need to do. So, I mean, there's that added stress that people, organizations, policies, are micromanaging everything we do, again, on top of all the expectations that we constantly will produce and provide work. So, I mean, there are definite tangible outcomes of depression related to burnout. And let's talk about why. Okay, keep in mind, this is not an internal thing. This is not you as an individual. We're not talking about a depression that occurs because, you have a predisposition toward it. These are the outcomes of stress in your workplace. And this is a kind of a funny thing that I just copied, did a screenshot because I thought it was so amazing. So these are the forms the nursing teams had to fill out for each patient on admission. And look at that person. And I mean, sometimes you feel that way. I also read or listened to a podcast, where a physician was talking about some of the work changes that they've had that I thought really rang true for us. I was doing some work in a community health center, and every patient chart, you were required to add to do a bunch of coding for statistics that had nothing to do with the care that you provided. It was for the overall organization, the community health center organization, to keep stats. And it was for the community health center provincial organization so that they could demonstrate stats and stuff that they were keeping. Ministry of Health constantly requires stats to be kept in different venues and different organizations. And all of those little things add to your workday. They estimated that those extra charting things, like EMRs, were supposed to make our lives a lot better. The estimation was that it added an hour to each day, those extra pieces in your chart. But think of it this way. We kind of don't know why. We're always behind. We can't figure out where, like, we can't move forward. We're forward. Well, there are these types of things that are always impeding upon us, and they're never taken away. They're always stacking something else. And if an organization wants to track something, they give it to the nursing staff, nurse practitioners, or nurses. So I think if you think about your own thing and you sort of just incorporate it, you don't even think about it anymore. It's like it becomes a big deal. And I think one of the problems I have with all of this is it would be fine if these data were used for something. I know I collected stats when I worked full-time in my first role as a nurse practitioner that went to the Ministry of Health, and I don't think anything was ever done with it. So, I mean, I think that there are huge issues related to the administrative piece of your work that add to your stress, because it seems to me that we all understand, and we all expect that there will be patient issues. That's what we're there for. It seems to be the additional stuff. And I'm not even, I haven't started talking about the meetings that people have to have for many things, like meetings. So whatever's in your workplace, you start sort of thinking about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what you're really there for. And it's patient care. And if there's a bunch of other stuff taking 30 to 40, 50% of your time each day out of your workplace that's stressful and difficult, then that might be contributing to your feelings of burnout.